Good morning, everyone. Pastor James here. It is good to be with you. I'm going to pull up my slide presentation. Let's get going. We are in Matthew. We are going through the life of Jesus. We just did the crucifixion scene, and now we're moving into the burial. It is July 30th, and this is number 93. Let us move forward. Some background information that we would need to know to help understand this passage a little bit more. So women were unreliable sources in this culture, both Jewish and Greek. We're not allowed to be on the witness stand. We're not allowed to testify, and yet the passage is going to revolve around them. And not only that, but resurrection too. Notice who's missing. We're going to talk about a man named Joseph of Arimathea, but we need to oftentimes look at who's not mentioned. And who's not mentioned is Jesus' own family. One of your main family obligations as a Jewish person was to make sure that your family got proper burial, and yet Jesus' family is nowhere to be found. They are likely totally shamed in this culture because of Jesus' actions and death. They do not understand at this point. And then just ritual cleanness and honor are present here, things that just help understand a little bit of the context of the details. Here now the word of the Lord from Matthew 27, starting at 55. Many women were watching from a distance, and they had followed Jesus from Galilee to serve him. Many women. He's going to name a few, but there are many here, and they are the only ones at the cross. The men have totally abandoned Jesus at this point. Unless you read the Gospel of John, and then there is the one beloved disciple who stays. But in Matthew and Mark, the only disciples at the cross are the women. 56, among them were Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, the mother of the Zebedee's sons. Oh, and the mother of Zebedee's sons. And so you have here the three women that are listed, likely the most important. Certainly Mary Magdalene, is the most important woman in the story. She will be the one who finds Jesus on Easter morning too. They are witnesses to the events, and one of the main reasons why we have a written record of what happened. 57, that evening a man named Joseph came. He was a rich man from Arimathea. Mark tells us that he was a Jewish man on the Sanhedrin Council, very well respected, who had become a disciple of Jesus. He came to Pilate and asked for Jesus' body. Pilate gave him permission to take it. So this rich man on the Sanhedrin, the Jewish council who decides, law and stuff, comes to Pilate and begs for Jesus' body. And Pilate relents and gives it to him. Joseph took the body and wrapped it in a clean linen cloth. Lots of people wanted to be buried with all kinds of things and off all kinds of fancy cloth. Jesus is simply buried here. A poor man. Good morning, Kathy. He is a poor man being wrapped in a simple way. 60. And Jesus' body was laid in its own new tomb, in Joseph of Arimathea's own tomb, which he had carved out of the rock. So Jesus is laid in a borrowed tomb with nothing but a simple, clean linen cloth. After he rolled a large stone at the door of the tomb, he left. It was the Sabbath. He went to go do his Sabbath stuff. 61, but Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were there sitting in front of the tomb. They are witnesses to Jesus' body being placed in the tomb. 62, the next day, which was the day after preparation, this is now Saturday, the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered before Pilate, and they said, "Sir, we remember that while the deceiver was still alive, while Jesus was still alive, he had said, 'After 3 days I will arise. Therefore, order the grave to be sealed until the third day. Otherwise, his disciples may come and steal the body and tell the people that he has risen from the dead.'" This last deception will be worse than the first. Here's what's going on. In this culture, essentially, the rumor that was going around was not that Jesus had rose, but that Jesus' body had been stolen. And Matthew is trying to short circuit that rumor by giving us this story about how the religious leaders went to the Greek leaders and asked for soldiers to seal the tomb so that Jesus' body could not be stolen without the tomb being disturbed, and everyone would know what would happen. Yeah. And Pilate agrees to it. Pilate replied, "You have soldiers for guard duty. Go and make it as secure as you know how." Then they went and secured the tomb by sealing the stone and posting the guard. What's going to happen? We don't know. Or do we? We do know. Let's do sword method. The point reminds us to ask the question, what do we learn about God? The handle reminds us to ask the question, what do we learn about humans? The blades are commands or examples to follow. What do we learn about God? Jesus is dead. Fully dead. The church has affirmed that he's not just sleeping. This isn't just a coma. He is dead, dead, dead. We see it in the story too. He has no tomb. He's in a borrowed tomb. He is in somebody else's tomb, just like he took somebody else's death, namely all of us, yeah? And he's buried in only a simple linen cloth. Jesus had nothing on this earth. In fact, when they asked him whose image is on a coin, Jesus didn't have a coin to look at the image. Jesus is a man of simplicity, just as he taught us to be. What do we learn about people? The women are the witnesses. It must be true that the women were the witnesses because no one would invent this. Matthew and Mark would not write this down on purpose if it weren't true. Nobody made women the center of the truth tellers of a story. Yeah, this must be absolutely accurate. That at the core of our faith, we have a dead body, Jesus, at this point in the story, and these faithful women who were there to witness what had happened. Matthew is addressing rumors then that Jesus' body was stolen. But notice, everyone agrees there was no body, but they have different reasons or explanations for how that happened. We believe it's because Jesus was resurrected. Some people have the rumor that it's because Jesus' body was stolen. Matthew is trying to curb those rumors, yeah, by talking about this soldier story, tomb being sealed story. Any command to obey? None here. Just story, narrative. Any example to follow? Not the empire, not the religious leaders. You notice how these two systems in this story, I mean, Jesus, they conspire against Jesus to kill him. We need to be weary of these systems in our world too. The empire and the religious leaders with all the power, it is bad news. Joseph of Arimathea is a good example to follow. He was a secret disciple of Jesus, but now he is making it more known in Jesus' death. And it is something that we can do too. Take confidence in the death of Jesus. But ultimately, the women. They are model disciples. They are being portrayed as model disciples. They have not left their rabbi. They have not left their Lord and Savior. They have followed him all the way to the cross. Many women, Matthew and Mark tell us, are there watching him, especially Mary Magdalene and the other Mary. Here is my paragraph and prayer, and we will be on our way. Jesus is laid in the tomb of another because he died for us all. His funeral cloth is plain because he lived to serve the last, least, and lost. The author of life is now buried, but only for a moment. The movement is centered now on a body and the women who are portrayed as the most faithful disciples. Here's my prayer, and we'll be on our way. May I be like the Marys, faithful servants and witnesses. That's what I'm going to pray today. I'm going to meditate on their faithful service and witness. May I be like the Marys, faithful servants and witnesses. Be blessed. Have a lovely day. I will see you tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Thank you for being with us. Please bless.